Have you ever breathed to connect with your soul? Not just to calm your nerves, not just to stay alive, but to remember who you are beneath the noise, the roles, the daily survival. Most people breathe to function, but what if you could breathe to awaken? Across ancient scrolls and whispered lineages, there exists a hidden technique. A rhythm said to align body, mind, and spirit so precisely that once felt it shifts you forever. This isn't metaphor. It's energetic architecture mapped through breath. The Egyptians called it sacred alchemy. The initiates of Thoth guarded it as inner technology. And now, it's being remembered. In this journey, we won't just talk about the breath. We'll experience it. We'll walk with it. Because somewhere in the space between inhale and exhale is a doorway, and on the other side is you. Long before modern science tried to map the mind, before mindfulness apps and morning affirmations, there were whispers carried by the desert winds of an alignment so precise, so sacred, that even the stars responded to its rhythm. The initiates of Thoth, the scribes, mystics, and silent adepts of the ancient temples knew something we've forgotten: that the human being isn't something to fix, but something to realign. They did breathe to relax. They breathed to return to essence, return to the origin. They called it the supreme alchemy not because it turned base metal into gold, but because it transmuted the density of thought into the lightness of being. In the hush of the inner sanctums, they practiced a technique hidden from the surface world. A breathing ritual that brought the body, the mind, and the spirit back into harmony, like tuning an ancient instrument that had gone slightly out of pitch. This was never about performance. It was about remembrance. What happens when you align those 3 layers of yourself? The body softens, the mind quiets, the spirit speaks. It wasn't magic in the fantastical sense, it was energetic geometry, vibration, and intention, moving together like planets in sacred orbit. Each breath was an invocation, each pause a key. And though centuries have passed, though temples have crumbled and languages have died, the memory of this technique lingers. Like a scent that triggers something in your bones, like a sound you didn't realize you missed. We're not discovering this, we're remembering. And in that remembering, you begin to feel it, a pulse, soft and steady, like a thread woven through the spaces between your thoughts. It's always been there, waiting, listening, ready to align you again. When you breathe with this awareness, you don't just fill your lungs, you ignite your core. You awaken the essence that was never lost, only forgotten under the noise of daily life. So when you ask, can I really change through breath? Know this. The ancients didn't ask. They knew, they lived it. And maybe you once did too. It begins so quietly, you almost miss it. The shift from survival into stillness, from tension into trust, and it all starts with a breath you finally notice. Most of us go through life breathing as a reflex, shallow, rushed, automatic. But ancient mystics, and now modern neuroscience, point to something extraordinary, that a single conscious breath can change the entire chemistry of your being. This isn't poetic metaphor, it's physiology. When you slow down your breath, especially through methods like the 4-7-8 pattern, inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, exhale for 8, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the part of your body that whispers, "We're safe now." It slows your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure, eases the mind from its high alert mode. Researchers studying post-surgical recovery found that patients who practiced 4-7-8 breathing didn't just feel calmer, they healed faster, slept better, and experienced less anxiety. Other studies now use it to support those recovering from PTSD, offering a way back to the body when trauma has pushed them out of it. In the words of one trauma therapist, breath is the first home we re-enter. The ancients knew this, even if they didn't speak in medical terms. They understood breath as a message carrier. And when that message is clear, kind, and intentional, it tells every part of you, you can rest now. The storm has passed. Let that land for a moment. Because maybe what you've been craving isn't more motivation or strategy, maybe it's safety. Maybe it's the feeling of being able to exhale fully, knowing you won't be ambushed by more noise, more pressure, more doing. When you breathe consciously, your body remembers. It remembers how to soften, how to heal, how to be yours again. This is the quiet revolution, not flashy, not viral, but deeply, unmistakably transformative. Because the breath isn't just air, it's a signal. And when that signal says, you are safe, your whole world starts to respond accordingly. You've been breathing your whole life tens of thousands of breaths a day without thinking. But something shifts when you begin to breathe on purpose. It stops being biology. It becomes a bridge. The ancient 4-7-8 breath is not just a technique. It's a ritual. A ritual made of 3 acts: inhale, hold, release, each one a mirror of something deeper. You're not just managing anxiety. You're shaping your reality through rhythm. 4 counts in, a soft invitation. You receive breath like you receive light or grace. You're not grabbing it, you're allowing it to enter. This is creation. This is yes. 7 counts hold, suspended in stillness. The moment between moments. The sacred pause. Here, energy gathers. Transformation brews. You're not doing your being. This is gestation. This is becoming. 8 counts out. The letting go, not forced, not rushed. A generous exhale that says, I trust the release. This is surrender. This is freedom. And then silence. You don't rush to the next inhale, you rest. And something sacred settles. The 4-7-8 sequence has been called the psychic reset, and it's used by therapists, trauma specialists, and sleep experts because of its immediate calming effects. But the ancients didn't use it to fall asleep. They used it to wake up, to awaken presence, to train the heart to be still in intensity, to infuse each breath with spiritual resonance so that breathing itself became a form of prayer. When done with intention, the breath becomes vibrational. You begin to feel yourself vibrating differently, as if something is tuning inside you. Fine adjustments, not just to your body, but to your field of perception. And this is the difference between unconscious and conscious breath. Unconscious breath reacts. Conscious breath remembers. Unconscious breath survives. Conscious breath transforms. So the next time you feel scattered, overwhelmed, or disconnected, don't just take a deep breath. Take a sacred one. 4, 7, 8, not to fix anything, not to force change, but to feel what's already inside you waiting to be released. This is not self-help, it's self-remembrance. It's one of the most whispered questions in the quietest corners of the spiritual path. Am I truly present? Or am I just pretending? You sit, you breathe, you count, you try, but something feels mechanical, hollow, like you're going through the motions of meditation without the depth. And it's not just you. Thousands ask this, silently afraid to admit that despite the candles, the playlists, the serene tone of guided meditations, they still don't feel in it. They wonder if presence is something only monks can reach, or if they're simply doing it wrong. So let's get real. Presence isn't a performance. It's not how calm your face looks. It's not even how long you sit. It's how fully you are with the breath. According to Anapanasati, one of the oldest Buddhist frameworks on breath-based mindfulness, true presence unfolds in layers not instantly, but deeply. Here are signs you're not just trying to be present, but that you've actually entered it. Your awareness settles in the body, not just your mind. You don't think about breath, you feel it, like a wave brushing your insides. Thoughts still happen, but they float like clouds, not commands. You're not at war with them anymore. Time softens. You stop checking how long it's been. A minute feels like a moment or eternity. Emotional charge lessens. Things that felt urgent start to feel spacious. Reactions loosen their grip. You forget you're meditating, you're just here. These aren't rules, they're reflections. And if none of them happen, that's okay too, because presence doesn't show up with a banner. It shows up in the micro movements, the breath that flows without effort. The moment you remember your shoulders can drop. The tiny pause before a thought sweeps you away. So how do you know if you're really connected? Ask your body. Is it bracing or softening? Ask your mind. Is it gripping or witnessing? Ask your breath. Is it rushing to escape or allowed to be? And if the answer feels unsure, good. That means you're noticing. Presence isn't something you reach. It's something you return to, over and over. Not by force, not by effort, but by remembering that the sacred is never far away. It's one breath close. We've all heard it, raise your vibration. But what does it actually mean? And more importantly, how do you feel it? Because it's one thing to read about energy, frequency, vibration. It's another to sense it subtly, undeniably within your own breath. Here's the truth. Your breath isn't just carrying oxygen. It's carrying signal. A vibrational signal that informs your body, your mood, your clarity, and yes, even your destiny. This isn't just spiritual poetry. It's quantum. It's energetic. Every inhale is an invitation into higher resonance. Every exhale is a clearing, a choice to release what no longer vibrates at your level. When you breathe with intention, you're not just calming down, you're tuning up. Think of your breath as the bridge between your inner landscape and the energy field that surrounds you. The ancients called this the living bridge, or the breath that doesn't just sustain life but orchestrates it. And here's the hidden gift. As you breathe more consciously, your intuition sharpens. Why? Because static drops, the noise fades, and the subtle signals your own inner knowing finally come through. Many who begin a conscious breathing practice report this surprising effect. They don't just feel calmer, they feel clearer, more guided, more aligned. It's not magic. It's physics wrapped in stillness. You start to walk into a room and feel the atmosphere before anyone speaks. You sense when to pause, when to act, when to let go. You notice synchronicities multiplying not because the universe changed, but because you did. You began to vibrate in harmony. So if you've been wondering, can breath really raise my frequency? Let your own experience answer. Begin with 5 minutes, just 5. Breathe with intention, no goals, no pressure. Then listen to the soft pulsing beneath your ribs, to the insight rising without explanation, to the sense that you are changing not by trying harder, but by breathing deeper. Raising your vibration isn't about effort, it's about remembrance. And breath is how you remember who you really are. This all sounds beautiful, but I only have 5 minutes a day. Can this really work for me? If you found yourself asking that, you're not alone. In fact, most people who find their way to breathwork aren't monks with hours of silence. They're ordinary souls in busy lives between school runs, meetings, emotional overload, and the messiness of just being human. And here's the good news. You don't need a mountain cave. You just need a moment. You need one dishwashing session where you breathe with intention instead of rushing. One slow walk where you inhale like the wind is guiding you and exhale like the ground is holding you. One night before sleep where you breathe as if your body is a temple that deserves reverence. This is where the practice becomes more than a technique. It becomes a way of life. Because breath doesn't ask for your schedule. It just asks for your attention. The ancients understood this. To them, a breath filled with presence was a silent prayer, a moment of alignment, a micro-miracle. And when you begin to practice breathwork not as a task to check off, but as a sacred act weaved into your normal, something subtle happens. You stop chasing results. You start receiving rhythm. Your reality softens. Conversations deepen. Decisions flow instead of being forced. It's like you're being led from within. Each breath becomes a compass. Each pause a permission. And slowly, what once felt like just breathing now feels like an answer to the questions you didn't know how to ask. Am I enough? Yes, inhale. Can I let go now? Yes, exhale. This is the daily practice, not complicated, not performative, just sacred, just you, meeting life one breath at a time. She didn't come to breathwork because it was trending. She came because she was breaking. 3 months post-divorce, sleepless nights, panic in public places, the feeling that her own body had become a stranger. When someone suggested, just breathe, she almost laughed because how do you breathe when your chest is a battlefield? And yet, she tried, not because she believed in it, but because nothing else was working. So she closed her bedroom door one night, dimmed the lights, and began 4 seconds in, 7 seconds hold, 8 seconds out. She cried on the first exhale not from pain, but from the shock of finally feeling something safe. What she didn't know was that breathwork, especially in trauma-sensitive forms, is now widely used to support PTSD recovery. Not as a cure-all, but as a gentle re-entry into the body. A way to reclaim the nervous system that trauma had hijacked. Because trauma isn't just what happened to you. It's what stays in you unprocessed, frozen, waiting, and the breath begins to thaw it. Not aggressively, not all at once, but moment by moment, layer by layer. You start to feel warmth in your fingers again. Your shoulders drop. You begin to trust silence. And slowly, the breath that once felt foreign becomes familiar. A friend, a guide, a mirror. This isn't a hero story. It's a human one. And maybe you're somewhere in that arc right now, not healed, not whole, but willing. Willing to try, willing to sit, willing to breathe even if it feels awkward, even if your heart still trembles. Because healing doesn't start with perfection. It starts with permission. So here's yours. You don't need to be calm to begin. You don't need to be wise or spiritual or even ready. You just need to be willing to listen. And your breath, it's already listening back. By now, you've learned the mechanics, the rhythms, the sacred numbers. But truthfully, that's not what this journey was ever about. You didn't come here for information. You came for something quieter, something ancient, something already breathing inside you. Presence. Because breath doesn't change you, it remembers you. And when you meet it with awareness, when you let it enter not just your lungs, but your life, it leads you back. Back to your own essence. Back to the version of you that was never broken, just buried under noise. So don't worry about doing it perfectly. Let it be messy. Let it be real. Just breathe. And let each breath be a gentle homecoming. If this journey spoke to something deep in you, speak it back. I breathe with presence. I touch the essence of who I am. And if you feel moved, share your breath story in the comments. You never know who might be holding their breath waiting for someone to go first. Welcome back to yourself. Welcome home.